Buongiorno a tutti ragazzi, this is Luca, Italian professor of history and enthusiast of Italian culture, and today, from the beautiful village of Civitella del Tronto in central Italy, we talk about 6 differences between northern Italy and southern Italy. And the reason why I chose this amazing village is because for centuries Civitella had been the northernmost outpost of the Kingdom of the South of Italy before the border with the rest of the Italian peninsula, so I thought that even symbolically this would have been the perfect place to talk about the important differences between northern and southern Italy, and this is something that I noticed numerous times during my tour guiding. Foreigners tend to completely ignore, despite this being one of the most important aspects of Italian culture and identity. So let's dive in. If you seriously want to understand the real essence of a certain place, you absolutely need to start from geography. For example, looking at the beautiful mountains that surround the citadel of Civitella del Tronto, you notice immediately something that is very peculiar of southern Italy, the fact that most of the territory is either mountainous or hilly, while on the contrary, northern Italy for more than 80% is completely flat. In fact, south of the Alps mountain range you have one of the biggest plains in Europe, which is the Pianura Padana. And another important geographical aspect is that through the Mediterranean Sea, southern Italy has always been connected with places such as Northern Africa and the Middle East, because the sea is the most important infrastructure in the world that connects many people, while most of northern Italy does not have access to the sea, and their contacts were more through the Alpine passes with the people of Central Europe, like the Austrians and Germanic people in general. And also the climate is completely different. While in southern Italy we have a more Mediterranean climate with a mild and rainy winter, but a hot and long-lasting summer. In most of northern Italy, there are many exceptions because also parts of northern Italy are on the Mediterranean Sea, but the big plains of northern Italy have no access to the sea, so there is a continental climate that is very cold in winters, and summers can be particularly hot but short-lasting. And because of this contrast in the geography of these two parts of Italy, also the history of northern and southern Italy consequentially have unfolded in completely different ways, and it would be impossible to sum up all the history of northern and southern Italian peninsula in one video or even in 1 year. But what we can say now is that thanks to its incredible position in the center of the Mediterranean, southern Italy entered in contact with the most advanced civilizations of the ancient world, such as the Greeks and the Carthaginians, very early in its history, and for this reason, very early, the Kingdom of Naples, which included the entire area of southern Italy, became one of the most powerful and united kingdoms in the Western world, and by the end of the Middle Ages, southern Italy was one of the most developed areas of the Western world. For northern Italy, it took a little longer and the pattern was a little bit different. It was the Romans to transform the desolated plains of northern Italy into prosperous agricultural fields interspersed with powerful cities that even in today's Italy are by far the richest cities of the countries, such as Milan, which was called Mediolanum. And when the modern age arrived and revolutions such as the Industrial Revolution, the Enlightenment thinking arrived from Northern Europe, because of its proximity with the rest of the continent, Northern Italy absorbed these revolutions and became the most powerful and richest part of Italy. And this is an advantage that exists even today. I know I am
way oversimplifying, because it would be impossible in one video to sum up these gigantic topics, but I wanna make dedicated videos about Italian history. And these huge differences in terms of history and geography also led to significant economic consequences, as Italy is the one country in Europe with the highest difference in terms of GDP per capita between an area and another, even more than former East and Western Germany. Just to put things in perspective, Northern Italy as a whole has a GDP per capita of around $40,000, while Southern Italy is around $20,000. And it is not only about figures, it's also about the perception. Think about the most important Italian companies in the world, such as Ferrari, Ferrero with Nutella, or Armani and other fashion companies. They're all either headquartered or born in northern Italy, whereas southern Italy relies almost exclusively on tourism and agriculture. It doesn't have tons of big companies. And also, in terms of socio-economic development, northern Italy has access to better healthcare, education, job opportunities, and this led to a phenomenon that I think is very unique of Italy in terms of the intensity and the length of the phenomena itself, which is a non-stopping emigration from southern to northern Italy that has been going on for 70 years with no signs of slowing down at all. And this is something I really want to make a video about.
Oh, sì, vi sento che strillate. Che cazzo.
But how different Southerners and Northerners really are? There is a caveat to this. Because of this non-stopping emigration from south to north that I just mentioned, millions of Southerners went to the big cities of the north, such as Milan or Turin. And so if today you go to these cities, you realize that most of the people have some kind of Southern origin. So the culture mixed up a lot, but there are still significant differences. In general, Southerners are warmer, more welcoming, religious is more important, they tend to enjoy life and to think less about career, their meals last much longer. It is in general a more traditional society, and they are very similar to the stereotype of the Italian Americans that went to the US. And this not by chance, because the Italians who went to the US were mostly from southern Italy, and I leave the description on my video down below. On the contrary, Northerners tend to be more career-oriented, colder. They are a more, let's say, modern society, if this term can be used, because they are more in contact because of geographical proximity with Central and Western Europe, so naturally they're more similar to the rest. These are just natural tendencies that you can find if you travel across Italy. One of the most visible differences between southern and northern Italy even today is for sure language, and this is something that I've already touched in my video about the American perception over Italy, and I leave the video in the description down below. But I think this topic, foreigners really struggle to understand how different northern and southern dialects really are. It's incredible, they're nearly completely different languages. This has many explanations. The two major being, first, the fact that Standard Italian came to common use very late in our history, so for centuries people almost exclusively relied on their native dialects. And the second is geography. Italy is a very long peninsula from north to south, so southern Italy was mostly influenced by the Greek language, while northern Italy was almost exclusively influenced by the Celtic, many languages that were spoken in northern Italy before the Roman conquest of the northern part of the Italian peninsula. And these substrates are still extremely important in understanding our dialects. They're so deeply eradicated in our different languages that, as I told you in the other videos, if you put together a Napolitan and a Venetian speaking their own dialects, they would not understand each other, nowhere near, okay? Because the differences in pronunciation are deep, and also most of the words, despite coming from the common ancestor, which is Latin for all of us, the pronunciation and the evolution of the words were so different that we have to rely exclusively on the standard, especially between Southerners and Northerners. We would not understand each other. And last but not least, my favorite topic, food. And this is not easy to discuss because people who are not Italian and they're used to eat Italian food in restaurants abroad, they're convinced that there is like a standard Italian cuisine that you can find from Sicily to Venice to Milan, etc. But there isn't. I mean, there are some common traits between northern and southern Italian cuisine, but the differences are still huge. You have no idea. Southern Italian cuisine, which is the easiest to find abroad, the most popular, is based on flour products such as pizza and pasta. The most common vegetables are the ones imported from the Americas during the European conquest of the America, such as tomato and eggplant. Depending on the area, seafood is more common than beef and meat in general. And then there is the cornerstone of the Southern Italian diet, which is olive oil, which is used nearly everywhere. It's really the prince, the king of Southern Italian cuisine. On the contrary, Northern Italian cuisine, the carbohydrate base is very different. It's more rice and more polenta, which I discussed in my video about the Italian immigration to Brazil, and potatoes are much more common than in southern Italy. Also dairies, milk and others are way more common to eat and drink in northern Italy than in southern Italy. And speaking about dairies, butter, which is in southern Italy is less used, in northern Italy is the most important ingredient, is used to cook, to deep frying, everything, okay? So there are incredible differences, but I wanna finish with a final caveat. Because of this internal emigration that I told you about many times, within Italy there have been some kind of let's say food globalization. So today you can find nearly, not all, but almost every ingredient, no matter where you are in the country.
This is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you like this kind of videos about Italian villages and Italian culture. Let me know in the comments and see you in the next one. Ciao ciao ragazzi.